Hello and welcome to the NGO Whisperer Show. My name is Dr. Carolyne Opinde. I'm the founder and CEO of the NGO Whisperer Center for Social Impact. Here at the NGO Whisperer Center for Social Impact, we work with non-governmental organizations, social enterprises, governments, and funding agencies to promote social innovation and investment for a sustainable world now and in the future. In season 6 and 7 of the NGO Whisperer Show, we feature our Global Fellows class of 2022. Joining us today from Mbabane in the Kingdom of Eswatini is Yael Uzan-Tidhar. She is the founder and executive director at Likusa Leftu. Yael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Opinde. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Would you please tell us what inspired you to step into the nonprofit sector and even inspire you further to set up this organization that is impacting lives of young people in the Kingdom of Eswatini?
So just to mention, I'm in the development world since 2007, 2008. And before that, I was the administrator of the newspaper in Swaziland. I studied BA in business and media. Workload was too much, 2 kids, and I just decided to resign and take time at home. And when I was home, I was watching a lot of BBC, do-it-yourself, fix your house stuff. And there was a project management position in all those programs. And I thought, you know what, that's something I'd like to do. So I actually went to study an advanced diploma in project management, thinking I'm going to construction and help people renovate their houses. And at the time, my friends established an NGO, a beautiful NGO, for a company called Gone Rural. It's a for-profit company that works with 770 weavers in Swaziland, grass weavers, to make an amazing home ornament and decor. And they needed someone to run the NGO. And I said, okay, let me try. So I actually jumped in as an offer from a friend. I did not study project management to development. But if I look back, all my life, I was into youth development and to volunteering. Even in my youth, I started working with youth in Israel, in environmental organization. I was guiding during my army service. I was guiding school kids in the nature reserves. So it was always within me to help and to empower, I think, others. I think that's where it comes from. And I started knowing literally nothing, but it was a small NGO and it was a good way to start. And I worked for 5 years with these amazing women in rural Swaziland, complementing the income generation from Gone Rural by providing health and education support and women empowerment. It was the time when we had a constitution and the women didn't know what does it mean. And we walked around and supported, teaching them about the rights, helping them discover the power within them. That NGO is still existed. I joined in its first year, and it's been going on until today, and moved a bit to youth. Later on, through the NGO, through Gone Rural Bomage, that's the name of the NGO, I got introduced to an amazing small foundation, Solon Foundation from Switzerland, and they supported our school fees program. And in 2014, a couple of us organizations in Swaziland looked into the issue of bursaries for high school. And you could see that kids doing their best, and from whatever reason, and we're looking at a generation who had no money for official, they come from underprivileged background. AIDS was very strong at that time when they grew up. A lot of them lost their parents. We call them OVCs, orphan and vulnerable children. And that's the people we work with. Few NGOs in Swaziland were all benefiting from Solon funding. And we came together to ask the question, we help them, we groom them, we brought them to Form 5. And if they did not get a good results in their certificate, they can't apply for government bursaries for university, but then they are lost. There's no money in the family. There's no initiatives, and lot of them did not have any mentoring or good upbringing. A lot of them grew up with old grandmother, gogo, what we call, and they did not understand, or they did not see the spark within them and the potential within them. Life just was very hard for them. And we needed to find somewhere to take those people who did not really make it great at school, but that doesn't mean that they can't make it great in life. And this was my initial that was my plate that I was handed, and I said, okay, what's the solution? How do we help them? And the idea was, the model that I've developed together with Solon and the partners was, let them study something so they get qualified and they have that certificate that's now writing off the Form 5 certificate, and give them a pride. And then not just let them study, they need to get to school, they need to eat something, they need to be able to buy a pen, to buy a shirt in the market, and they also need to learn about life. So the combination that we offered, which was unique at the time in Swaziland, wasn't just a bursary, just go study, and if you need to walk in the rain and in the thing from far away, that's your problem, is the combination of school fees, tuition, allowances, so they can survive, and then an extensive, or not extensive, but a monthly program on life skills development, where we looked at anything from how to write a report, which helps them with their English, which helped me with reporting back to my donors. It's a very good trick. If you need to report back to your donors and you want to know what your beneficiary thinks, just tell them to write reports every month. To who I am, what my values, what's my vision to myself, and not just like nice placard with big cars and big houses from the magazine, but what's my action plan? How am I getting to be that preschool teacher I'm studying to be now? And then later on, how to write my CV, job interviews, and the end of the year, they have a certificate, they have some skills, and that's it. And I did that for about 8 years. And this in 2022, just as I joined the NGO Whisper Global Fellowship in July, we've opened the doors to a youth center for employability, where now we're looking at not just a selective group of people, but at a large job seekers youth in Eswatini. And that's because UNICEF and the EU have heard about what we're doing and felt like this program should be expanded in a way of enhancing employability. So the idea is to enhance employability skills. So today I had a huge leap in my life, from working from home in a small NGO to now running a youth center in Matsapa, the center of Swaziland. So it's like, things brought things. If you ask me how, I didn't choose, things just rolled.
That is absolutely wonderful to see the progression of your work, from stepping in to help someone with their nonprofit organization, an NGO that you are contributing to seeing problems in the community and establishing Likusa Saleh, to working with young people. Now, could we go deeper into the focus of your work so far, the impact that you are making, and who are the partners or individuals who are supporting you to achieve the impact that you have so far?
I think my best partners that help me to do it is the youth that we work with. In terms of the new established youth center, I can't really show any impact at the moment. We just started in August. So please allow me to go back to the program we've been doing for 9 years in Likusa Saleh, which is the bursaries and the life skills. Sometimes I think we may be kind of a real estate agent at the end of the day, because for our youth, one of the most important things for them is to have a home which is theirs. In Swaziland, everybody can have a home, can have a land from the chief, but they need the money and they need to build. And a lot of them see, I think, where am I so independent? Where did I get my freedom is when I built my own room. But if I look at the statistics, about 66% of our beneficiaries, which are Swazi youth between maybe 18, 26 years old, claim today that they are generating an income, whether they're fully employed, partially employed, or self-employed. And that's in contrast to the 62% of unemployment in their age among the qualified youth in Swaziland. And that's massive. More than 50% of them claim that they are individually controlling their money and their funding. And for me, that's an independence in a way for this youth who grew up always dependent on somebody else for their life. I wouldn't be able to do it by myself, thinking an idea, a startup idea, it's one thing, but I think Solon Foundation really believed in what we do. They funded us for 3 years as a pilot, and they joining in 3 years at a time until now. To this, in the coming month, I have to submit my 4th cycle with them, and that has been amazing. Jumping into 2022, because of the work we're doing, as I mentioned earlier, the EU or UNICEF funding from the EU saw the potential in supporting employability. And just to understand, there are no employability centers in Swaziland. There is no facility, whether government or non-government, that takes youth and said, this is how you write your CVs, this is how you do it. If I compare to other countries with the centers for unemployment, we don't have that in Swaziland. And here, it made a lot of waves, and then I joined in with the British High Commissioner, joined in as a co-funder. The Israeli Embassy funding us to do a course on ICDL with Excel and Word. ICDL is an international accredited certificate, because we realized that Excel and Word are really essentials for employability, and they don't get enough of that at school or in the institution they study. And lately, I've been talking to UNDP in Swaziland, who are developing a youth program to how do we go inside. But the nice thing, and that's, I think I should thank you and the NGO Whisperer Global Fellowship, encouraging us to go out and find these people, because I was just working by myself with a small organization, I was even afraid to tell people what's going on. And as you sent us on our homework to make a contact with our city council, so now we are part of an organ in the city council that works with youth development, combination of civil society, business, and the youth. The youth chamber is using our center for their meetings and use our center for outlet for their product. So I think we have a local municipality with us, the Times of Swaziland, the newspaper supporting us. So it's a combination of diplomatic, private sectors and other NGOs. And I think if you ask who pushed me to do it, I think it's the ladies, the local ladies at UNICEF and EU that show me they believed in me. It's really awesome to see that people believe in you. I know I do that to the mentees, but it's nice that somebody is doing it to me. And I appreciate that from Solon Foundation, the 2 ladies, Cecily and Linda, and the ladies in the EU here. It's just women who believed in my power and pushed me forward. So I should thank all of you.
Thank you so much. It's amazing to see the power of mentorship, support, and that is what is propelling you to move forward, not just from us at the NGO Whisperer, but also from your donor community and the stakeholders in the Kingdom of Eswatini. For those who may wonder what Swaziland is, before it was called Swaziland, and now it's the Kingdom of Eswatini. So as Yael is referring to Swaziland all the time, I just want to remind our viewers outside of Africa and outside of Southern Africa is that it is now called the Kingdom of Eswatini, previously known as Swaziland. But we cannot sometimes take time to actually come to terms with these new names when they change. Now, Yael, you've been with us at the NGO Whisperer Global Fellowship Program from July to December 2022. What inspired you to sign up and be one of our Global Fellows?
You. I've listened to your talk. You came as a speaker in the Papillon Press conference, online conference on fundraising, which I religiously do every year. And your talk about everybody can be a fundraiser was quite important and impressive. And you offered the opportunity, which I'm grateful until now, to join the Global Fellowship. I wrote my application. I was looking for it, and I felt like it was almost like I'm applying for like a course in university or something. Like I was very stressed until I remember the morning I opened my email and I saw that I got accepted. I was thrilled, and it's proved them one to be one of the most amazing things because it came in a time where there was a big change in my life, and I mean in my work life, in my career life, as I explained, moving from just a small NGO to a big NGO. So it looks like even like a divine intervention, I would say, that I just did that course, and it was actually mentoring me and escorting me through the change that I was going, or Likusa was going through.
That is absolutely beautiful. And we have Jill Ritchie to thank for that because Jill invited me to speak at her conference. And so, Jill, if you are watching, thank you so much for connecting me to Yael. And here we are today. Yael, what are the top 3 areas of learning and insights that you would like to share with us today? I know there are more than 3, but if you could just share 3 with us, we would be happy.
I think in terms of my NGO work, the topics of change, which we did with Florence, it's, as I said, it came in the right time because I just took it for granted. Yeah, we just, I'm just moving to Matsapa, I'm opening a center, I'm just hiring staff and running interns. I didn't actually take a step back to think, actually, this is a change and this is something I need to digest, I need to understand, and I need to let it go in organized and a logical way. So it was a taking step back and says, okay, let's acknowledge the change here, not just ignore it, and let's embrace. And I used some of the tables that she shared with us and some of the knowledge. It was very good, especially the idea of combining everybody or explaining everybody that this is the change we're going, telling all my beneficiaries that this is what we're doing, telling the staff that this, it's a new thing for me as well. It's not that I was running, the last time I was running a lot of people was in 2005. So that was one, which I thought very good, was very good for me. The other one that was really interesting and new for me was the first one, which is how to write grants or grant readiness, which you led. In that matter, I actually, while I am receiving grant from UNICEF, and I've never actually sought after or looked or Googled, to see what USAID has to offer, what other people has to offer. And I always thought that the day I can write a grant that is going to be accepted by the EU just by myself, it's the day I should leave the NGO world, because that's mean that I've reached my the greatest high thing. So it was I wrote a lot in that. I took a lot of notes, a lot of website addresses and stuff like that. So if one day I feel brave enough, I know how to start. So that was very good. And that will I think that will impact the NGO work in the future as well. And if I may take something just for myself, and I think that was the reason why we had that lesson or that module, is the mental health with Cheryl and Steve. I didn't, again, like the change. Maybe it's my personality, maybe that's how I grew up. I don't recognize that things are happening, and until there's like a breakdown, say. And there was a buildup of stress at work towards, for us, it's the end of the year, December. It's where you wrap up things. And it's project wrap up, it's budget wrap up, things that you need to do in schedule. And I got into it when I listened to Cheryl and Steve. I thought, oh, I know about meditation. Oh, I know about that. I need to walk. I know that I need to do all these things. But suddenly it got to a stage where I actually suffered from like stress related issues. And if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't have understand that this is all related to stress. I thought I'm getting a heart attack, and, Corona stuff. But then I sat back and I thought, okay, this is what stress is about. And I literally opened their notes again and I read everything again, and it all makes sense. And I pushed in to do more, more activities and more. Well, I went for 2 weeks on the beach. That was the best thing you could do. But it was nice to have that information at my, in my notebooks. I actually wrote to Cheryl or Steve. I wrote to Steve about it to say, this is it. It's working. So I think these are the 3 ones that I'll definitely take home with me. I think M&E and fundraising and stuff like that, the things I've been doing for a while. So it was just good to listen to. But the three that made the most impression would be the readiness, the grant readiness, the mental health, and the change management.
Now, share with us in detail what changes are you adopting or have you adopted as a result of joining our fellowship program and the impact of it on the people that you serve, your team, as well as yourself.
The big change or the impact we will need to see by the end of this year. This year is going to be a year where I need to put all my efforts into fundraising, into writing grants, into get this organization secured for the next few years. And that's where grant readiness and the fundraising are going to come in place. And this is my time to now create that change and create that impact. I think in terms of my NGO, I really have to say that it's a little bit early to say. I mean, there were like spots on things, you know, the strategic thinking, the board, you know, discussing stuff with the board and get the board more on board. And the understanding that board needs to be maybe more participatory and to think how I'm going to do it. And I think the impact in details will be the networking, because I think one of the things that you mainstream throughout the 6 months was get your network working, get people to know that you're doing what you're doing there. I came from a perspective of, I'm such a small NGO with only 20 beneficiaries. I can't go around and tell everybody what I'm doing, to a stage where I have to tell everybody what I'm doing. And it's made an impact, you know. I have people stopping me in the street, people asking me, oh, yeah, this is what you do. I need to come and speak to you about it. And can I speak to you about this? And a lot of different combinations happening from, for example, from the funding with the, this is how it rolls. The Israeli embassy gave me funding. Another entrepreneur wants to do something in Swaziland from Israel. They send us an email to connect to us. And now our NGO found itself partner in a new startup for actually high-level people, not underprivileged, not being like people who can afford to do startups in Swaziland. And that connected us to another prominent figure in Swaziland. Seeing the diplomatic community around here. So I think you should ask me that question maybe in 6 months' time, especially because for us, the NGO Whisper program finished at the end of the year. So it was just, you know, it's not that we're in the middle of the year or something and we just continue. It's our summer holidays. It's, I think, the feeling you guys have in July when you know, you finished and now you're going and you're starting after. So I think it's the changes are going to be small. There was not like a bombed impact, but I'd really like to answer that questions in 6 months or by the end of 2023, and I can tell you, you know what, we've been good. This is exactly what we needed. But on the other hand, personally, I think, as I said, the mental health and the more organized work in terms of the change and how to facilitate things, that's probably translating to a better working environment for my side.
Absolutely wonderful. We will definitely reach out to you again, since you are part of us now, and follow up on the successes. We actually do that with all our fellows. We follow up and check in. And even in this year, we will have monthly check-ins with all our global fellows, class of 2021, which was before you, and of course, you in class of 2022, and the new fellows who are coming in our class of 2023. Okay, moving on to what plans you have for the future. Share with us in 2023, what plans do you have for Likusa Saleftu and also for the youth center that you have established?
So I think it's going to be a very, very, it's going to be a fantastic year in terms of development. So we're going into the 9th year of the bursaries and life skill program, which is the end of the 3rd cycle. And as I said earlier, I will be busy preparing for the next cycle, 3 years grant cycle. This is right now, I think, going to be interesting to see, because we might be moving a little bit into digital learning instead of just going to schools here. Since we have the center that has the internet cafe and availability of infrastructure, I'd like to offer some people, why do we need to do that certificate here where you can come and study online? So that would be something interesting for us to check. In terms of the NGO, in terms of the Center for Employability, the two main important things to get a job is the skills and also the experience. We got funding from the UK Embassy to do an internship program, and I find it's very, it's going to add such a value for our NGO because, first of all, we will have to introduce ourselves to 35 local companies and NGOs to say, this is our interns, please employ them for 30 days. But that will probably impact our it will expand our network in Swaziland. So it has to be very strategically done, which companies, how we're going to do it. So by the end of that, we should be more exposed to networking and build the equipment, what we need to do in our NGO. Okay, so basically the most important thing this year is to create, because the center is a social enterprise, it should run itself. Although as an NGO, I know that we cannot be, obviously, if we're self-sufficient, then we're not an NGO anymore. We need to leave the door open for donors, but it's important that the basic is provided. And that's the idea of the center. Some of our services are paid for. So we need to go into extensive marketing efforts, which is something I have not done before for the NGO. And it's something I need to look into now. So strategically planning is happening next week, and marketing is one of them, and how we become self-sufficient in terms of running costs of the center. One of the other ways to do it is by opening a recruitment agency in a way, where when we help people find a job, we then get paid for that, just like a recruitment company. And that's a whole setup that we need to do now. So I think three most important things from my point at the moment is marketing, is building the recruitment, and building and getting the funding for the bursaries for the next 3 years. I need the center to be self-sufficient in July. That's when the UNICEF running cost support is finished, or running support is finished, and we need to be able to do that. So another thing that we're opening at the center now, we thought to have a coffee shop, but that doesn't really work, especially because we're in the corner and because there's a big coffee shop right in front of us. But there's no outlet in Swaziland that's looking at youth products. There is outlet for youth designers, but not for people who do compost or polish or acha or chili or earrings or something. And we want to create that outlet in our shop, which in our center, which is positioned in the center of the country. So people said, oh, you can get my chili in that shop next to the bank. And in that, if we can get the center covering most of its costs by the end of July, it's mean that we've done very well. So this is where we're heading. That's probably part of my stress in December, but now I'm more focused and more relaxed about it.
Thank you so much for sharing. The future looks bright, and we are here to support you, whether it's with the branding and marketing of the center. We are here to provide that kind of support for you as you continue as one of our alumni once you graduate from the fellowship program. As we come to the end of this episode, what is your message to governments, to civil society organizations, and to good citizens in Swaziland, the Kingdom of Eswatini, or elsewhere around the world on specifically empowering young people and helping them to be entrepreneurs as opposed to job seekers?
Swaziland is in a very sensitive situation at the moment. There's unrest. It looks very peaceful. The sun is shining, the grass is green, but underneath the water is boiling. Without taking sides, it's not a very healthy environment for growth. So I wish and one of the things that is required by everybody is to have a dialogue. Let's talk about what's happening in the Kingdom of Eswatini, and where is the kingdom is going forward. And I really hope that government, NGOs, and civil society, civil society and the citizens, business community will all sit together and to discuss and have that open dialogue, because I think it's a small kingdom and we all one tribe, in the sense that there's no rivalry between, old ancient things, and it can be probably solved by dialogue. So I really wish for Swaziland this year that this dialogue will happen and everybody will come into the dialogue, understand that I've got my side, you've got your side, but perhaps we can find a third side that works for everybody. On the other hand, working with agencies in Swaziland at the end of last year and government, I see a lot of amazing work that is done to develop the youth. Whether it's the UNDP Youth Empowerment, Economic Youth Empowerment Program that looks into 5 different components, whether it's Ministry of Labor that's trying to sort things out, maybe it's Ministry of Education that now is looking at the idea of where are the skills. Why are we not teaching skills, and how are we going to teach skills at school, skills for towards entrepreneurial, towards self-sustainability. So I see a lot of goodwill to do it. So I wish for that, all goodwills and all the plans, which have been working. I mean, we did a lot of fine last end of the year meetings in December, and you could see that there is a progress. And I really want to see that progress. We have to remember that the youth in Swaziland today is people who were born in late 90s, early 2000s, where AIDS was taking tolls in Swaziland. A lot of them lost their family structures. And education was not free until 2011. So if you were not caught up with an NGO that will pay your school fees, you probably end up with no formal education, no family structures. A lot of the traditions of Eswatini and Maswati people maybe faded or did not come through filter through the generation properly. And that generation that we are busy with today is a generation without good foundation. We have to help them believe that there is a future. We have to help them understand that this is the beginning of life and not the end of life. And that's probably part of the unrest that the country is feeling right now. And I wish for the youth to believe that there is a future, and I wish for the youth to understand their power in creating their own reality and not carry out narratives that are not written by them, if I would say that. So I wish peace and prosperity to Eswatini.
Thank you so much. It's been a great honor and a pleasure to have you at the NGO Whisperer Global Fellowship Program, and of course today at the NGO Whisperer Show. Thank you so much for joining us, Yael.
Thank you very much, Dr. Opinde, and thank you for believing in me, choosing me, and accepting me, and being on my side. I wish you a peaceful and prosperity in 2023.
Thank you so much. We wish the same to you and to all our clients and our global fellows. Yael, how can people connect with you?
Oh, Yael Eswatini. If you put that Yael Eswatini or Swaziland, you're probably going to find my name in Google. Likusa Saletfu, Our Future, is where you find us on all the social media. It's throughout Instagram and Facebook, and our website, ligusasa.org. And then maybe if you walk in the street in Swaziland and you ask someone if you know where Yael is, they might tell you she's right there. But find me as Yael Tidhar, Tidhar on Facebook. And that's where you find me mostly. I'm from that generation, Facebook, not on TikTok yet.
Thank you, Yael. We are so honored to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us once again. As always, it's all about connecting people, raising funds, and impacting lives globally.